Hi, and welcome to Living and Loving Each Day, Bridging Barriers. I'm Sue Jansen. I'm a certified life and resilience coach, and I am here to bring you heartfelt stories, expert advice, and insights that uplift and bridge barriers that connect each and every one of us. So, this podcast is a place of encouragement for parents and caregivers, specifically with children with adaptive needs and anyone that experiences barriers in their life. So, together, we're building a community where we celebrate resilience and share real experiences, and where we also find strength in each other. We're joining who share their stories, and we're also, like today, talking to an expert who deals specifically in some of the barriers that we face. And today we're talking about accessibility and homes that provide us that freedom and safety to be independent. So grab a cup of coffee and settle in and join us each week as we navigate life's challenges with compassion and with hope. And also, just don't forget to subscribe as well. I'd love to hear from you. So, today I'm excited to introduce you Adam Arsenault, and he's a visionary in accessible housing and a driving force behind Red Plaid Developments. And you'll see by his shirt. So, Adam's company specializes in building accessible residential housing, making sure that everyone, for personal reasons or investment purposes, can access a home that truly meets their needs. So, but Adam's impact doesn't just stop there. He's also a founder of the No Limits Collective, and it's a groundbreaking program. He'll share with us more about this, dedicated to making accessible housing available to those who need it the most. I'm, as you know, a professional residential real estate agent, and my specialty in my area of expertise is accessible and barrier-free homes. So I kind of help. I'm the one that goes in and tries to find these homes and then trying to find the buyers who are looking for homes like that. So that's my job. And with Adams Collective, he collaborates with nonprofits to connect people with adaptive housing, creating opportunities for those who might otherwise face barriers to finding suitable homes. So tune in. I'm so glad that you're here today. And I'd like to give a big, huge welcome, Adam. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is great to have
Hi, hi, Sue. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to
you.
be here.
Yeah, thank you. So tell us a little bit about you. Like, I want to know your story, where you've come from, and then also why you got your red plaid developments and why that's so important to you.
Sure. So I've always had a passion for building. I actually graduated from university with a criminology degree. Was going to originally get into policing was the plan. Um, but in the meantime, I decided to learn a trade. I started to get into carpentry, and I really loved it. So I canceled my RCMP application, um, and off I went in the construction world. I enjoy everything about building, and I was in carpentry and renovations for a very long time. I learned not just carpentry; I learned a lot of the other trades.
Mhm.
Um, and I've always had my own business, sort of right from the get-go. So I love entrepreneurship as well. And things really changed for me kind of 2017, around there. My grandparents were getting to the point where the house that they were in was just not accommodating them anymore. It was
Mhm.
becoming quite dangerous.
Yeah.
It was a bungalow, but had 6 or 7 steps up to the front door. Um, and then obviously all the steps down to the basement. So I always knew I wanted to build houses. I just didn't really know what to build. I'd been in 1,000 different houses and condos. It was all starting to look the same. And then here was a situation in my own life where my grandparents were living in a place that just wasn't working for them anymore, and there was really nowhere to go. They really didn't want to go into any kind of community care.
Mhm.
Um, they were people of means. They had money, but there was just no option for them. And then looking at it closer, you look into what we consider a 55 plus home. So for persons for the last third of their life, and you'd say, what are their options? And really, we don't have any.
Yeah.
And it kind of became my mission to change that, to come up with something where persons later in life, 55, 65 and up, they can enjoy a higher quality of life. What ended up happening with my grandparents is there was a fall, and they were forced to go into
Mhm.
a communal care facility against their will. and they both deteriorated very, very quickly. And it's a reality for a lot of people.
Yes, it is. It is definitely. Yeah.
And you just don't really know the quality of life they could have had, especially for the last sort of 5, 6, 7 years of their lives. So actually, the red plaid is a tribute to my grandpa. He always would wear a red plaid jacket, loved to cut wood and putt around outside. He had a hobby farm and that sort of thing. So I always remember that. So the red plaid is a tribute to him. It kind of reminds me of cutting wood and working with your hands. So 2018, we built our first home. So what was different about it? So the reason why all our homes are non-accessible is generally because they have basements. So as soon as you have a basement, what happens is everything gets lifted up off the ground because you can't have wood touching earth. So you have your grading and all your dirt. So say your floor system is just over, or we'll call it 12 inches. So you're at minimum 12 inches above the ground for your floor joists and your floorboards. Um, Plus you need 6 inches of concrete above grade. So that's 18 inches at minimum,
Yeah.
which is 3 steps. So so since 2018, when we first became a home builder, I have yet to build a house with a basement.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
so by not having a basement, we can actually lower the house down that 18 inches, or at least the 12 inches, and kind of work with that 6 inches and create level entry. So every home we've built so far has level entry. So that's no steps and no ramps.
wow.
Um, and we truly believe that that should be a popular option. Just one of the other things we build. So a lot of times when people are downsizing, they're looking for a bungalow. Well, what we build is should be comparable to that. So you can
Mm,
build a 2-story home with no basement, and you get the exact same square footage as a bungalow, or in fact, you get twice as much above grade, right?
yeah, right.
And then we put in an elevator. Residential elevators are becoming much more affordable, much more common. We
Right.
put in an elevator on a 2-story with no basement and no steps.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, my grandparents could have had a place to live till they were 100, right?
Wow.
But they didn't live that long.
Wow, I'm sorry.
Um, well, and who's to say, right? But it's
Mm,
even that the quality of life that you can maintain with the forethought. So our hope was, like I said, to create something that's a true 55 plus, not a 55 until you have to renovate, or a 55 until you fall, a 55 until you're forced to move yet again to a condo, or some sort of community living,
mm,
right?
that's so true. Yeah, it's interesting how just having convincing contractors, just generally speaking, not you, but the other, like the so-called contractors that are out there right now, just to widen the doors, for heaven's sake, just that
Hmm.
simple thing to make it 42 inches instead, just to get wheelchairs comfortably through a door, just that alone just seems so daunting. It's like, why don't we just make it accessible right from the get-go so that we can have people visiting who are in wheelchairs perhaps, or we can accommodate anything that happens, even a walker. Do you agree with that?
I do, but the issue is anytime you change, we do changes to our traditional builds, there's
Yeah.
sacrifices that need to be made. And I
Okay.
find in general, most people are not either forward thinking or prepared to make those sacrifices. So you could say, well, going to a 3-foot door or a wider hallway, how is that a sacrifice? Well, it's a sacrifice because you're sacrificing space in other areas,
Okay.
right? So when you get into space planning, accessibility is quite difficult because we're reallocating space. And then so now they can't maybe have this big living room that they wanted, or the island isn't as big, or there's not enough, the walk-in closet is smaller. So,
Right.
so it doesn't sound like a big deal, but as soon as you start to reallocate space, sacrifices need to be made unless the house is bigger. And then you could say, well, just make the house bigger to accommodate that space.
Right.
However, there's an additional cost to that, right? And it's not always possible, but there's also an additional cost, right? So now
Okay.
you're saying you're asking someone to spend more. and both those things, either sacrificing the spatial attributes that they want, or putting in more cost, most people won't. And a lot of times, when I say most people, it can also be the people that are immediately affected, i.e., persons that have mobility challenges.
Right.
They're also very unlikely to put in these changes.
Hmm.
So it's a mindset thing.
Mm.
It's a forward thinking thing. So there has to be the whole trick of it is there has to be something to offset those small sacrifices. And right now there isn't really, right? So it is still a hard sell. It makes sense. You think, why wouldn't you? But there is a consequence, right? So
Okay.
spatial planning for accessibility is actually quite difficult.
Okay. Well, I'll be kinder to those builders then, the contractor.
To be
Okay.
honest, it's not, in general, it's not the contractor's fault. I mean, in a sense, the contractor, and like we do, we always start at a place of accessibility as a default. It would be
Yes.
nice if more contractors did that. So you started accessibility, with the hope that you can maintain as much as you can,
Right.
instead of starting at traditional and then trying to move to accessibility. But
Yeah.
in general, because the client is not asking for those things,
Yeah.
why would the contractor force it, right? So
Yeah.
really, it's demand. If there was a demand for accessible housing, we would have accessible housing everywhere. So it's
Everywhere.
not really the builder's fault. Somebody has to request it.
Okay. Okay, I'll be kinder in the future. It's interesting though, because a lot of the homes that I do see specifically in my work, because I do get calls to say, okay, my son is in a wheelchair, we need a place in St. Albert, or we have a house with a lift, with a walk-in, like a wheel-in shower, and we have all these things. Should we take all this stuff out and sell it, or what should we do? And so then I can actually come in and say, like, let me put out my feelers first, because maybe there's somebody looking for exactly what you have,
Mhm.
and they've been looking for a long time. So I try to match those kind of people, but I get excited to make that happen, and to find a place even that is where my buyers can actually just do some retrofitting, and it's not that difficult to accommodate the new buyers. So that's exciting for me to do. So I really appreciate people like you, because you can go in and retrofit something that's already completed. You don't have to start from scratch, right?
Well, in a perfect world, which we're trying to encourage more and more accessible builds from scratch, because
Yeah.
a retrofit is always going to be just that. It's going to be a half measure, especially because for me, it's all about level entry. It's the Lexus of accessibility. It's so important.
Mm.
Um, so and level entry from all entrances and exits. So that could be two or three different entrances to the home.
Yeah,
Um,
a lift in a garage, or a lift or a ramp in the front. Is that what you're thinking? Oh,
no,
no, no,
well,
you
that's
can't. No, those aren't level. They're not level.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
how.
So but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is retrofit level entry is impossible, right?
Okay.
To expect, for someone to have three ramps, say on a property in the back and the garage and in the front, it's a dignity thing, but it's also an impractical thing, right? So that's why we're such a big believer now in backyard housing and garden suites. It
Yeah. Tell me more about that. What is that looking like for you?
Well, it can be such people don't realize, but it can be such a great alternative to retrofits,
Okay.
because everybody has the ability to do it. It's just, depending on where you live and your property, we might affect the size. But essentially, what it is you can build an accessible home in your backyard, a lot of times for the same amount, or even sometimes cheaper than a retrofit. And it adds a lot of value to the property. And it looks from the outside, you'd never be able to tell it's accessible. That's what looks so great about it. So,
Right.
so the aesthetics are still there. It adds a lot of value to the property. It's a full solution. It can be full accessible. And now it's a piece of infrastructure. So that piece of infrastructure will remain long after the person that built it is gone or moved
Yeah.
on. And so it is there to do good again and again and again. And
Oh,
and really all major cities, especially in Alberta, have the ability to rebuild our cities again. right? 100,000 properties can build garden suites over time. But
Okay.
every time you build one that's non-accessible, it's just more of the same.
Yeah, I
So,
agree. Yeah.
so there's nobody really talking about the accessibility portion and how easy,
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, a garden suite does not have a basement, usually because it's just not economical to do one. So it's perfect for our concept of level entry because there's no basement anyway, right?
Right.
But again, if someone is not cued to that, to put in these basic levels of accessibility,
Yeah.
we just get more of the same. And that is essentially what's happening. So we could build our city, our entire infrastructure again, and have a full accessible city. It just takes some nudging, right?
Yeah.
It takes something to offset the small sacrifices. So if someone's building a 700 square foot garden suite,
Yeah.
accessible versus non-accessible, even if there's one bedroom, one bathroom, kitchen, the two next to each other will be quite different because of that spatial planning. And that, again, that is where it's tricky. So it might not cost somebody anymore, but they're still sacrificing on things they may have wanted, like I
Wow.
said, because of that space allocation.
Mhm.
So the No Limits Collective, the program we've designed is to
Yeah.
try and help um, incentivize someone to make those sacrifices.
Okay.
And what that program does is it offers a safety net. So it offers free property management on anything that's purpose-built accessible.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So say if you were building something for your mother-in-law or
Yeah.
grandmother in the backyard and something changed and she wasn't able to move in or she was only there for a year,
Yeah.
we will take that accessible home garden suite and we would manage it, find a tenant and manage it month to month, all the maintenance, everything at no cost.
And then that would be a revenue. Like if people decided to rent that out, that would be a
Yeah,
revenue.
that's revenue for them. So the No Limits Collective, the tenants come from, so we have some endorsing partners, but the tenants basically come from not-for-profits that are involved in accessible housing, Spinal Cord Injury Alberta, Voices
Mhm.
for Albertans with Disabilities,
Mhm.
Alberta Seniors Housing Association, and then we're hoping that WCB will come on board.
Oh, I
Uh,
hope so. That's a
so
great
these
great idea. That's a win-win. Yeah, it really is.
That's
It's
right. So the
yeah.
idea is that even 10 years later, so we just say if you're going to build a garden suite, doesn't matter what you're doing with it now, just build it to a basic level of accessibility because even 10 years from now,
Mhm.
we will take it and we'll find you a tenant and someone that can benefit and is in most need of that accessible home.
Mhm.
And then we'll manage it for you and you receive the rent and it costs you nothing.
Wow. Well, it costs you to build it. It costs you to have it built.
Well, of course, but they were going to build it anyway. So that's the whole
Right.
thing. So they're going to build it anyway, and we say build it accessible. And they say, well, I don't want to sacrifice this.
I hear
I
you.
want this big island. I don't know about
Yeah.
this. These wider doorways. I'm losing space.
Yeah.
And you say, and especially 5-foot turning circles. And they say, I'm just not. I know it doesn't cost me anything, but I just don't know if I want to do that.
Right.
And so you have to say, well, if you do, here's the benefit that's
Yeah.
there, right?
I
A
can
nudge, because there is nobody nudging. So
it
somebody has to nudge. If you nudge and you show the pros, anecdotally, most people are in.
I yeah,
It's not a big stretch. It's just you have to nudge, and there has to be sort of a benefit there to offset, uh, e-
exactly.
even a small one, right?
I can see people actually, especially with the some in some of the areas of the city, there's the larger lots. I'm not talking about the silly little 300, and 20 square meter ones, but the really substantial lots that are gorgeous and really nice areas of our city. I can see the owners that are getting on, in age, building their own accessible garden suite, and then they could actually rent out their house. That would be another source of income. And then you've
Uh,
got
yeah,
something brand new that would accommodate you, and then you're still in your space, that in the home that you are used to, the neighborhood, you have friends. That
there's so many pluses. It can be for a mom and dad who are taking care of a child with a disability where
yes,
they can't go too far from home, but now they can be in the backyard, be independent, but still have the caregiver.
yeah,
Obviously, parents can move to the back and children can move in the front.
yes,
WCB, persons that are newly injured,
Yeah.
They can move into the back, and obviously a lot of times they've lost their job, but now they have a source of income. They can manage their property. There's a lot of great scenarios with it. I think
There
it's
is.
just it's getting the word out. It's showing proof of concept by just building them. A lot of people need to see it,
They
right?
need to see it, and I'm willing, hey, once you're up, like Adam, once you start building things and you want an open house, just call me. I'll do an open house anytime.
I did an open house last week. I should get it. We just finished one. Uh,
Okay, I
yeah,
missed it. Yeah,
this is happening. We're building them. We've built a number already. We've
good.
got I think a total of eight more units on contract to come up. And then so there's Red Plaid Developments. That's us building, and then the No Limits Collective is something that I hope will go beyond just Red Plaid Developments. So I talked about the builder starting
Mhm.
from a default place of accessibility.
Yeah,
Um, in order for the builder to do that, they need to receive some sort of benefit. So part of what we're doing is trying to include other builders. We call them No Limits builders, and
good.
we have two more on board. Um, so the builder, by becoming part of the program, they get associated with the not-for-profits that are involved.
Yeah.
Um, our hope is that it helps the builder sell more homes, so they come on, but we want the builder to sell more accessible homes,
Mhm.
right? Um,
Exactly.
so we're pulling in builders. Red Plaid Developments. We love to build, but there's only so many you can.
Yes,
And we're sort of Edmonton and area,
yes.
and we're looking at province wide. So you
Wow.
want to have other builders that are taking similar stance, um, and a community that will support them for taking that stance.
Mhm.
That's
Oh,
that's that's what the No Limits Collective is about. Like I said, we have three builders, um, who all start at a place of accessibility, and just every time we build a home, we try and get it as accessible as possible, and we have a minimum of 4 items. If somebody
mhm.
wants to take advantage of the No Limits Collective program in the future, they have to have level entry, uh, minimum hallway widths of 43 inches, minimum door widths of 36 inches, and a 5-foot turning circle in every room.
Okay, okay.
And one barrier-free bathroom. Sorry, 5 things. One barrier-free
I
bathroom.
Okay, cool.
So you get those 5 things. To me, that's a basic level of
Yes,
accessibility.
yes.
It offers visitability. Anybody can visit you. Um, and it really doesn't impact the cost of the project. Like I said, there are some spatial planning challenges that can happen,
Yeah,
but hopefully our benefits and the communities that champion us is enough to encourage the general public to go accessibility as opposed to not.
good. Well, let's hope that this, pushes you forward and gets the word out here because this is such a good thing, from all angles. I see it as a win-win all the way around and I really appreciate all the work that you're doing, Adam. This is great. I'm glad that your grandparents spurred you on to this. This has been really great. So thank you so much for being here today. And
Thank you.
everybody in the description is Adam's email address at Adam@Red Plaid Developments. And if you want to get in touch with him, or do you have a website as well, Adam?
Yeah, it's www.redplaidhomes.com. And also the No Limits Collective.com is where the program is, and there's other builders there, and you can see our endorsing partners and a video about the program.
Awesome. So thank you so much for being here. I hope people reach out, and I hope that you enjoyed our podcast today. We're talking about accessibility. It's so important. And go to suejansen.ca and like, share, and chat. If you have any ideas too, please, by all means, let's reach out and communicate and just connect with each other. So, Adam, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you and what you're doing. It's very important and very worthwhile. I really appreciate what all you're doing. So everyone, thank you for joining us today, and hope that you got a little bit of information here and a little bit of inspiration as well. So thanks, Adam. Take
Thanks,
care.
Susan.
Okay, bye.